Well, hey there, everyone. It's GG Sober Son. April 25th. I don't believe that AA works because I read it in the book or because I hear people say so. I believe it because I see people getting sober and staying sober. An actual demonstration is what convinces me. When I see the change in people, I can't help believing that AA works. We could listen to talk about AA all day and still not believe it. But when we see it work, we have to believe it. Seeing is believing. Do I see AA work every day? Hey, yes I do. And myself and every meeting I go to. If I'm looking for the similarities, I'm going to find them. And if I'm looking for the miracles, I'm going to find them. It's not hard. It's easy to find them. And when I went to my first AA meeting, they handed me the book of Alcoholics Anonymous and told me, just go home and read this, and when you're done, come back and we'll discuss it. Like it was a book club or something. I'd be screwed. Because it took me a little while before I could even get my head around what was being said, really. I think I did get a big book fairly early on because I got sober about a month and a half into a temporary duty assignment at Incirlik Air Base, Turkey. And I was living in a tent with like 5 other guys, and we were partying every night. And I distinctly remember laying on my cot reading Bill's story. And even though it was written several years, several decades before I was born, I could relate to his story. But that was after I went to meetings, not right at the beginning when I was seeking help. And if it was just me reading yet another quote-unquote self-help book, of which I had a shelf full of that I had never read, I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't want to believe it was alcohol. That alcohol was my main problem anyway. So I get to see it every day, lifed out in people. Now, can I focus on the people who came to AA and failed? Yes, that's one of the reasons why it concerns me when celebrity members of Alcoholics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous members who are celebrities before and after coming to AA, celebrities, when they're really vocal about it, it concerns me, because about being members of Alcoholics Anonymous and professing that that's how they got sober. Because if they end up going out and getting drunk again, people will say, well, it must not work. Didn't work for them, so it must not work, kind of thing. So, meditation for the day. Try saying, God bless her or him, of anyone who is in disharmony with you. Also say it of those who are in trouble through their own fault. Say it willing that showers of blessings may fall on them, upon them. Let God do the blessing. Leave to God the necessary correcting, or disciplining. You should only desire blessing for them. Leave God's work to God. Occupy yourself with the task that He gives you to do. God's blessing will also break down all your own difficulties and build up all your successes. Boy, there are a lot of planes flying around. That's an interesting one. Because it looks like a C-17 with props. Weird. Anyway. Squirrel! There's a lot more activity going on right now. But I would say absolutely, this is one man's opinion, and it's backed up by another in a story in the back of the big book, page 552, I believe, where it says, if you have a resentment you want to be free of, pray for them. Pray for them for a week. Pray for them that all the blessings you desire for yourself be given to them. And what happens is God changes our heart toward them. And I have a story about this, that I had a boss one time who saw that I had made mistakes in the past through my personnel records, and he didn't like my predecessor, so he was gonna take this bull by the horns and make sure that I toe the line, so to speak. And he was really mean. And he used to come and gripe at me, and one of the reasons I had made mistakes in the past was personality conflicts with supervisors. And so I thought, oh, I've been here before, maybe I won't make the same mistakes. And I applied the principles of the program and began to pray. And I began to pray, and I began to pray, and I began to pray, and I began to pray. Not out of piety, but more out of desperation and a desire to avoid making the same mistake again. I didn't think my career could handle it, but this was tough. So I went ahead and continued to pray for him, and I found out that, things like he was an only child, and he was sent to his room a lot. As a kid, he had to fight and scratch for everything he got, and things like that. Like, he didn't like kids, and which is pretty telling, and I could have made judgments about that. But when some pretty alarming things came up in my marriage with health reasons with my spouse at the time, he stepped in and helped us get some counseling, he figured out a way when the mother of my children had to have surgery and needed help, was going to need help for about a month. He figured out a way to where I could care for her and not have to take leave. And so that was super helpful, and he went out of his way to do it, And one day I realized that he was in a very thankless position. He's constantly having to call people out on their lack of adherence to, the guidance, Air Force guidance and whatnot. And so that couldn't be fun. And even when he did help people out, it was kind of expected of him. So I was just like, you got a thankless job, and I just want to thank you for what you've done for my family alone, but I know you do a lot more for a lot of other people and probably don't get thanked very much. And dude almost welled up. He almost started crying, you know. And it got to the point where when he would come at me screaming and ranting and raving about this, that, or the other thing, I was able to hear through the static, basically. You know, it was almost like you get a staticky radio and you're trying to hear the message, and I could hear through the static and all that anger and gruffness and abruptness and all that stuff was just background static. And I could hear what he was saying, and I could relate it back to him. And it's not about what I could do, it's about what God did to my heart through that experience. Because I'll tell you, in the early days, I had visions of like getting him in a rear naked choke and just choking him out, or just pounding him, just coming over my desk and pounding him when he comes practically stand on it. You know, it was kind of like not that he was that type of boss, but you know, if you ever watch The Incredibles, when Jack Parr punches his boss through the several walls kind of thing, that's what I felt like I wanted to do to him, you know. But in the end, he became a friend. And he's still a friend that I reach out to every now and then, just to touch base and say, hey, I appreciate you. And I have nothing to gain by doing that at this point, you know. But you know, in this divisive world that we live in, to be able to be civil alone it takes an act of God. But to express love and appreciation for people that you disagree with deeply, and who will go to blows in an instant, at least, you know, metaphorically speaking, go to blows online. I just don't go there anymore. And it's all because I surrendered my will and my life first to the power of the group of drunks out of a gift of desperation. And I kept coming back, and I applied the principles, the simple kit of spiritual tools that was given to me in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I see miracles every day if I choose to see them. And I'm so grateful for just this opportunity to reflect on this, because I'll tell you what, I don't know what's going on with me, but I was feeling pretty low today. I had to crank out a report, do a lot of paperwork, so I sat at a desk for a while, at my desk at home, and my feet are all swollen, I'm all achy. And so I was just like, you know, just feeling a little morose, to say the least. And then I get an opportunity to come out here, not just to walk the beach, but to reflect on what I've been given in recovery. Oh, come on. That's some good stuff right there. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may use God's goodness so that it will be a blessing to others. I pray that I may accept God's blessing so that I will have harmony, beauty, joy, and happiness. Oh, thank you, Lord. I'm really grateful to have an opportunity to reflect on this stuff. Sometimes I feel like it's too much, you know, to do this every day. And sometimes it is a grind. You can probably tell that if you've been following day by day. And I almost fear going back and looking at some of the old ones, or listening to some of the old ones, because I'm sure I'm all over the place. That's just my nature. And it probably doesn't make any sense either. But you know what? This is part of my daily practice. So if anybody can benefit from it, great. That's even better. And if anybody doesn't like it, they don't have to watch or listen, whatever. So keep coming back though. I love you. Look up, aim up, rise up, y'all.